Are you overwhelmed looking at custom rifles? Are you looking for custom quality and accuracy without the hassle of building a custom rifle? Are you looking for a custom quality rifle under $3,000 that's easy to shoot, accurate, doesn't have the recoil of the Magnums, and comes in at under 8 pounds? If you answered yes to these questions, stay tuned while we take a look at the Kelbly Koda rifle.
Alright, Ryan here with LongRangeOnly.com, and in this video we're going to take a look at the Kelbly Koda rifle, and we'll start with all of the overview of the features and the components, and then we'll go in, we'll take a look at the bedding, we'll take a closer look at the trigger, take a closer look at the magazine, we'll take a look at some groups, and we'll talk about that a little bit, and then we'll do some video of some long distance shooting or longer distance shooting, and then we'll come back and summarize it. So right up front, we're gonna just generally talk about it. This is basically a $2,500 production rifle put together with all of the same components that you would use if you were building a custom rifle. And if you think about that, the components here add up to at least $2,500. So it is amazing to me that Kelbly is able to sell a rifle with all these quality parts for that price. And with the components put together here, you would expect it to shoot, and I will show you that it does in fact shoot very well. So big picture, this rifle is right around 7 3/4 pound before you put a brake on it. If you want to put a suppressor on it, whatever. It does come with a 1/2 inch by 28 threading. I chose to put an area 419 brake on it. It is a 26-inch Krieger barrel. It comes in 6.5 Creedmoor or 6.5 PRC. We chose 6.5 Creedmoor just because for testing purposes, there's a lot more available ammos out there that make testing a lot easier for us. It does have the Kelbly Atlas Tactical Action. All of the metal is nitrided, so you get the rust protection, and it makes the action even smoother than it would have been without it. It's got a Grayboe terrain stock. It's got Grayboe bottom metal, and then it comes with it accepts AICS style magazines. This happens to be a 308 PMag magazine. It's got Bix and Andy Dakota trigger. It comes with a dual pinned recoil lug and a pinned 20 MOA pick rail. The stock, let's just start with the stock. When I pulled it out of the box, I wasn't really excited about it. I'm not a big sporter fan, sporter style stock fan, but this stock does a very good job at compromising for all types of shooting. I was actually impressed with it. You can see here it does have very little drop at the comb. Of course, it is a Monte Carlo style stock here, as you can see, but this has a very excellent cheek weld, or allows a very excellent cheek weld, so you can spot all your shots. Again, the Creedmoor is not very recoil intensive. It doesn't have a lot of recoil, so it's a little bit harder to mess that up, but this does help give you a very good sight picture through the shot. As far as input to the rifle, the grip area here is a very good compromise. It's very comparable to like a Macmillan Remington Hunter or a Sacco Hunter, which is, it's a little more vertical than a typical sporter style stock, but not completely vertical like something like the Macmillan A series, the A5, the A3, or the Manor ZH1, those type of stocks. But it is very, very good compromise, which I really did start to enjoy the more I shot it. It does have flush cups on the rear. It's got 2 sling studs up here on the front, on the bottom, so you can mount like a Harris bipod. You can take these out and put a pick rail on it, so you could run Modular Evolution or an Atlas style bipod. It also has flush cups up here on the side and back here on the side. So I've started moving all of my slings to QDs, so these flush cups are very nice. I don't like having sling studs back here, especially during load development, because they catch on bags and they cause vertical. So that's a good overview for it. Now, before I move in, I just want to get something across, hopefully by the end of this video. The fact that they can cram all of these components into a production rifle for $2,500 is absolutely amazing to me. And when I show you the groups and we talk about it, I hope that point comes across. But we'll go ahead and talk about we'll break this down in the action. It's got a oversized bolt knob on the bolt handle, which a lot of guys like. It seems to make cycling easier. I'm indifferent to it. I think I actually prefer smaller, but I think most guys like the bigger knobs. So that is a feature. And it does have a side bolt release, which I would consider to be standard nowadays. Most clones have it. I'm unaware of actually any clone that doesn't have a side bolt release. Take it apart here, and I'll do some drop-ins here. But you've got a Socko style extractor. You've got a mechanical ejector that Kelbly uses. So as you pull the bolt back, there's a piece in there that pushes that forward and it flings the brass out. So you can control how far it goes or how hard it goes. If you're at the range and you don't want to fling it very far, you can just pull it back slowly and you can pull the brass out. If you're hunting and you fling it, it's going to fling the brass clear of the loading port, so you won't have it stuck in there. So let's go ahead and quickly take it apart. We'll look at the bedding, we'll take a look at the trigger, we'll take a look at the bottom metal a little bit closer, and like I said, we'll do some close-ups of the bolt itself.
All right, here we've got the Kelbly Koda torn apart. We can look at the bedding here. You can see that it's bedded in the recoil lug area here, and then just below where the front screw, action screw is. I'll slide it forward here. Okay, we can see it's not bedded back there. There's a lot of discussion, and I don't know that's ever really going to be resolved about whether it really needs to be bedded in the tang area or not. Personally, when I'm doing my bedding jobs, I bed just like you see here, and then I bed clear back into the tang area. Definitely don't think it's a problem based on the accuracy that we're getting out of this rifle. So not something I would worry about, but like we try to do on our rifle reviews, we wanted to take a look at that bedding area. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the rifle while I've got it torn apart here. Alright, here we've got the bolt face. You can see the TG mechanical ejector there, right here. And we'll look on the back, you really can't see, but there's a hole right here, and I'll show you here in a second on the side bolt release how that interacts with the ejector to make the case eject from the loading port. And then you can see here the Socko extractor there. Okay, here we got the side bolt release, and it's going to be really hard to get it in camera, but underneath this side bolt release there's a plunger in there that rides inside of the raceway for the bolt, that when you pull the bolt back, it goes right in this hole right here. Ejector's pushed in right there, and we'll flip it around here. Okay, now this plunger inside that's attached to this side bolt release, when you pull the bolt back, that plunger is riding in the bolt raceway, and it pushes that little pin right there. So then it looks like that right there, and that causes the shell to be ejected from the action. Okay, here we've got the Bixen Andy Dakota trigger, and I will be doing a review strictly on this later. Right now you can see that it's fully enclosed, and what you can't see internally is that it is a searless trigger. It's the only one I'm aware of, and in my opinion that makes it extremely reliable. It does have a different feel. The more I shoot it, the more I get used to it, and I do feel that it's going to be less likely to fail in nasty conditions. You can also see here that the Kelbly actions use a trigger hanger, so you would just, to replace the trigger, remove these screws right here, and then take that whole unit out, and then you could knock the trigger pins out to replace the trigger if you so desired. There are also trigger hangers out there that allow you to adjust the engagement with the cocking piece, which affects the timing. I don't think that most people that are buying this are going to care about that, and really you don't need to on this setup. Okay, here you got the gray bow detachable box bottom metal, and I think I'm not a big detachable box magazine guy, but this is very high quality detachable box bottom metal. Definitely wouldn't have a concern with that. Okay, and then we have the P-Mag magazine that this rifle comes with. Okay, there's the maximum internal length of this magazine at 2.845. Get it up here, get this in focus so you can see that. 2.845. So it's plenty for the Creedmoor. Okay, while we got this torn apart, I want to talk about something else real quick before we cut back to the summarizing and wrapping the video up. One of the reasons why I don't like detachable box magazines, and this one is one of the worst, just this magazine itself. There may be other magazines out there, but it does not single shot feed very well. I can appreciate the fact that it feeds flawlessly from the magazine. So in like a hunting type situation where you had the magazine box full and you had one in the chamber, or even if you just ran it without one in the chamber and it was time to chamber around from the magazine to shoot the animal, this feeds flawlessly. But I shoot thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds a year, and 99% of them are single shot because it's at the range and I just don't see a point to feed from the magazine. And this is very iffy on whether or not it will actually feed. It's not a fault of the Kelbly action or barrel, obviously. It just is how detachable box magazines work in general. And then you can see here the feed lips on this P-Mag. They keep the cartridge up and it lets the bullet nose fall, and so then it doesn't want to go in the chamber. I would say that most people shooting this are probably going to feed from the magazine anyways, but it's not really a huge issue in practice. You just have to take the magazine out, put all your rounds that you're going to shoot into the magazine, and like I said, it feeds flawlessly. But it is something that I did want to point out. It is not great at single shot feeding. Okay, here we have a couple of different groups with factory 156 Burger ammo at 100 yards. Okay, here we have two groups of factory 135 Burgers, and this was pretty consistent. It would shoot a smoker group and then it would shoot a group just around or just over half a minute. Okay, here we're taking a look at the first results after cleaning the rifle after very lazy load development. So what I did was I tore down the 156 Burger factory ammo and found what looked to be 39.4 grains of H4350. I tried 0.2 of a grain above and below and found that that powder charge that was in it at 39.4 grains was the most accurate. Then I measured the overall length of the factory cartridge and I seated it 5 thousandths deeper and 5 thousandths towards the lands. And what I found was 5 thousandths closer to the lands was the most accurate. So that's what we're looking at right here. That first shot out of the group was the clean cold bore, and the rest are right around a half minute. And we'll take a look at a group here in a little bit that kind of mirrors that.
All right, so here we go. The first 3 shots at any distance longer than 500 yards after getting the load development and get the rifle cleaned. I did have some issues with the dirty barrel. It doesn't like shooting past 50 or 60 rounds without cleaning, which is typical. Definitely not going to hold it against the rifle. But here you got roughly a half-minute group at 500 yards. Like I said, the video I just showed you with the first 5 after cleaning it, after initial, again, I hate to call it load development, but after the initial load workup, we just shot 5 after a clean cold, and then we took these 3 shots right at a half minute. The mirage is horrible. I honestly am surprised that I was able to keep it under half minute, but I'm not going to make any adjustments for the zero currently. You saw those ones zeroed at 100 yards, and until the mirage is better, we're just going to leave it like this. We'll come back and shoot it. So there you go, first 3 shots after load workup and getting the barrel cleaned and on target. All right, here we go. 3 shots out of the Kelbly Koda 6.5 Creedmoor, and this is with factory Burger 156 ammo. So you got 1, 2, and then third over here. There's about a 18 to 20 mile an hour wind, so I'm pretty impressed with that group. We're not going to be able to shoot a whole lot tighter than that in these conditions.
Here we're looking at a typical group with the load that I settled in on for the rifle at 100 yards, and this was 39.4 grains of H4350 and seated 5 thousandths longer than the factory overall length. Again, I'm just telling you the load that I settled in on. This is definitely not a recommendation for your rifle, as all rifles are different. You need to do proper load workup. Here we have one of the groups that I recorded a picture of at 565 yards.
Okay, we talked about all the individual pieces of this rifle, and we took a look at the bedding, we took a look at the magazine, the trigger hanger, took a look at the groups at 100 yards, we took a look at some video shot at distance, and I think we covered all that, all the important pieces. So let's go ahead and summarize this, and I'll tell you what I really think about the overall rifle. So you're getting a lot of custom parts. You're getting a custom stock, you're getting a custom barrel, you're getting a custom action, you're getting a custom trigger. You're getting all the pieces that you would put together if you were building a custom rifle. Now, at $2,500, you are getting a custom rifle aside from the fact that you aren't specifically picking the parts out individually yourself, which is really, in my opinion, what separates a custom rifle from a production rifle. So, Kelbly's has put together a $2,500 production rifle with all the components you would choose if you were building a custom rifle. We all know Krager barrels shoot. They have several bench rest records and they continue to shoot. They make some of the best barrels on the planet. The Creedmoor is very, very shootable, which is a great cartridge, and most people are going to be fine with that. It's going to be great for killing deer and antelope out to 500 and 600 yards. It's good for kids to start with. You put a brake on it and this thing shoots like a .223. As far as the action, Kelbly's been making very high quality actions for years and years and years, and this Kelbly Atlas Tactical is no different. So you're getting a great action. The Bixen Andy Dakota trigger is quickly becoming one of my favorites, and especially for hunting situations. With no sear, it's going to be very difficult to make this thing fail. I don't have enough time with it really in field conditions to have an opinion on the durability, but I just don't see how you're going to mess up this trigger. It doesn't have a sear to get gritty and get dirt on it and cause the sear issues that some of the other triggers have out there. It has a really good stock, and I didn't get really heavy into it, but it has a very nice neutral comb here. It's got the Monte Carlo stock. It is a great overall balance of a sporter style stock and a prone stock. The grip, when I pulled this thing out of the box, I really didn't think I was going to like the stock very much, but the grip is very, very good. And like I said, it's a very good compromise between 100% prone shooting and maybe doing some offhand or some different field position shooting. So I do think it was a good choice on a stock for a production rifle where you're trying to meet a lot of customer needs. It does very good. The neutral comb here gives a very good cheek weld. You can see here that they've actually got a cutout here for the cocking piece on the bolt because it is very little drop at the comb. And the heel, obviously, it's a Monte Carlo, so it's got more of a drop at the heel. But if you were to extend this out, it would have very little drop at the heel. And for all intents and purposes, this is where you're going to be riding. It's very little drop to the interface. So I think it's good. Like I said, this is a very good compromise in feel here. So I think personally that Kelbly has knocked it out of the park with a $2,500 production rifle with essentially 100% custom parts. The only difference is you don't get a large selection of cartridges and you don't get to choose those parts. But this is a very good compromise on pretty much everything for everyone's needs. The Creedmoor, like I said, it takes a lot of flack. You've got people that make it out to be more than it is, and because of that, I think a lot of people try to detract from what it does. But it is an awesome cartridge for shooting game out to 500, maybe even 600 yards, depending on what bullets you choose. And for shooting steel out past 1,000 yards, no problem whatsoever, which I think a lot of guys are going to like to do too. So if you're looking for a rifle that's gonna do most of what you're gonna need for hunting out to 500 and 600 yards, like I said, deer and antelope, or if you're just wanting a very easy way to get into shooting long range steel for a relatively cheap cost, the Creedmoor is somewhat easy to shoot. And a matter of fact, you're most likely going to be able to find some factory ammo that shoots very well. You're in that $2,500 range and you're overwhelmed with putting together your own rifle, or you've got several custom rifles and you just don't want to deal with it anymore. You need to take a look at the Kelbly Koda. Like I said, I think they've knocked it out of the park. For $2,500, you can I don't even know how they're selling it for that. The parts add up to that, and there's no time for labor and bedding and stuff like that. So like I said, if you're in the budget for a very accurate, relatively lightweight rifle for hunting, for shooting steel, for getting a kid into the game, you have to take a look at the Kelbly Koda. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. We will have a link in the description below to a thread on longrangeonly.com. You can head on over there. In that thread, you can ask me any questions. I'll get those answered for you. I usually pay attention a couple times a day, whatever, so I can get your questions answered. If you're not a member on longrangeonly.com, it's quick, it's free, and it's easy to sign up. We would love to have you. Go ahead and sign up. Again, we appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. Please like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and turn on notifications so you'll see when we've got new videos coming out.